Welcome to the first episode of the Inner Coach Classroom with me, Emma Benyon. I'm a multi-certified coach and educator with over 13 years of experience within the education sector. And this podcast is all about helping educators and leaders build their inner coach so they can become confident, self-aware, and transform how they work and lead. So if you are an educator or leader, then you are in the right place for coaching, mindset, and reflection. So let's dive into the first episode of this podcast, which is all about meeting your inner coach. Now, what is your inner coach? What does that mean? Now, when I describe this to my clients, I always refer to the inner coach as that cheerleader, that inner voice that is absolutely cheerleading you on, like you do for your colleagues, for your students. The one that's saying, go for it. Come on, you've got this. You did amazing at that. And that's what we want. We want that inner cheerleader because our inner critic, that voice that tells us we can't do things, that we're not good enough. Why did we say that? We want to quieten that negative voice. Because that inner critic, in comparison to our inner coach, holds us back. It stops us from taking action. It stops us from moving forwards. And it stops us from becoming the educator and leader that we are absolutely capable of, because it brings in that doubt. It brings in that negativity, that overthinking. And this is why I really believe that educators and leaders need this idea of building their inner coach, that idea of self-coaching, because we need this for us, yet we can also model this for others. We have such an incredible opportunity to model this way of being to our colleagues, to our students. And when we are coming from a place of calm and compassion, everything just works so much easier, both in our careers, in our roles in education, and outside of that too. When I started building my inner coach and quieting that inner critic, I really started to show up to work, show up in my role in education with much more confidence, much more compassion, and a stronger ability to know who I was in that role. Now, we know that education is a tough context to work in, and I'm absolutely not going to labour that point. If you work in education, you know how tough it can be. It comes with many challenges and pressures that can often lead us feeling like we aren't enough or we haven't done enough. And that can lead that inner critic to really start to talk quite loudly. And here's some quick examples of inner critic statements that I've heard those who work in education say. I should be doing more. Everyone else seems to cope better than me. I don't think I handled that lesson very well. That meeting didn't go well at all. I sounded unprofessional. I'm not ready for this role. Who am I to make this decision? And when that inner coach is talking rather than that inner critic, it sounds much calmer, more curious, more supportive. Whereas when that inner critic talks, it's loud, noisy, and it become quite overwhelming. And one way to help reframe that, and this is where I'm going to share a really simple tool as part of today's episode that can help you instantly to reframe that inner critic and start to build your inner coach. Now, I want you to note with this that this takes time. It is a practice. The same as when we're in a classroom or working with colleagues to help them learn a new skill, it takes practice. We might not get it right the first time or the second time. And so it's about being committed to bringing this in and noticing. So I'm going to share some examples of how you can reframe that inner critic to become your inner coach. So, for example, you feel like you should be doing more, and your inner critic is saying, I should be doing more. You haven't done enough. Bring in your inner coach and try to reframe that as, I am doing enough. What's the one thing that matters most right now? And maybe your inner critic is saying, everyone else is coping better with the situation. And you might bring your inner coach and reframe it as, I don't see their behind the scenes. I don't see what's happening for them that isn't happening, with in front of my own eyes. I'm allowed to be human. And here's one more. I messed that up. I wonder how many of us can relate to that, whether that's a lesson or a meeting or a presentation, where that inner critic is absolutely saying, I messed that up. I was rubbish. And so bring in your inner coach and reframe it as, that was one moment. What can I learn and carry forwards for next time? And those are some really simple reframes that can absolutely make the difference to how you start to build your inner coach. And I'll come back to something I said earlier. It takes time, it takes practice. It's not an overnight fix, it's building that up. And so the more that you start to reframe that inner critic, the easier it will become every time. So if you take one thing away from this episode, take away the fact that you do have the ability to train your inner coach, to build it. And one really simple way to do that is to reframe what your inner critic is saying. So, thank you for listening for today's episode. I would absolutely love to hear your reflections on building your inner coach and some of those things that your inner critic is saying to you, and let's reframe them together. So come and chat with me over on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at emmabenyon.coach. All the links are in the show notes. And if you have enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the next one, then make sure you follow and subscribe. And if you really loved it, please leave a review. So until next time, as we start to build your inner coach together, one episode at a time.